I'm Nolan Beilstein, and welcome to another episode of Gen Z in Manufacturing, a podcast where I interview young people about their journeys in manufacturing, how they intend to influence the industry, and what they are looking for from an employer. For this episode, I welcome Kyle Walter, a 24-year-old analyst at Deloitte. Walter graduated from Wichita State University, where he studied mechanical engineering and worked at Smart Factory by Deloitte at Wichita, which is located on the university's Innovation Campus. Walter became a student team lead at the factory and was eventually hired by Deloitte full-time. His passions include drones, robotics, and the Internet of Things. Before we hear from Walter, please make sure to like and share this episode of Gen Z in Manufacturing. To view previous episodes, visit manufacturing.net. If you are a member of Gen Z and would like to discuss your experience in the manufacturing industry, please get in touch with me, Nolan Beilstein, at nolan@in.com. All right, Kyle, well, thank you for joining Gen Z in Manufacturing. I wanted to start off by talking about your time at the Smart Factory when you were attending Wichita State. And I wanted to know, what was your reaction when you walked into Wichita State's Smart Factory for the very first time?
No, that's a great question. So I started at Wichita State. I was actually a little bit of backstory. I was a biomedical engineering major. I wanted to do pre-med and then go into the medical field. That changed about a year in. I kind of realized it wasn't really the interest I had, and I switched to mechanical engineering. And I had just switched internships. I was kind of not sure what I wanted to do. I'd always been very interested in product design, like kind of the design space as a potential career. And then I received a notification from Wichita State about Smart Factory being a new thing on campus and applied, thought it was very interesting. But walking in for the first time, it was unlike any kind of facility I had seen or worked in before. I had not had really a big, involvement in manufacturing before I came to college. And walking in and getting a chance to see not just manufacturing like as a end-to-end manufacturing as a whole, but also the amount of different technologies, different industries, all that kind of coming together. It was kind of like seeing everything from my first 2 years of college, all the different systems and engineering concepts uh, right in front of me, all working together, all combined.
How do you think your time at the factory affected your overall view of what manufacturing is and could be? Like, how was that different from the opinion you had of it going in?
I guess the biggest change was I had never really considered all the different systems and engineering types and technologies that all work together to make manufacturing happen. So as I got more involved in the smart factory, as I got a chance to work both on the manufacturing line with the design teams, with the integration teams, it just became more and more clear to me that there was endless things to learn, endless things to experience, endless ways to combine it and find new ways to solve problems. And it really became this um, just this incredible puzzle to solve, I guess.
And then what about Deloitte made you want to work for them full time?
With Smart Factory Manufacturing and Deloitte, it's just the chance to always be learning something new. There's a big push from Deloitte and the manufacturing space Deloitte works in to always be learning something new, upskilling yourself, exploring industries that you're interested in. And I really felt enabled in this role where I don't feel like I have to I'm just checking off boxes on a task sheet that no one else wants to do. I feel like um, I have say, like even as a student when I was, in my, I was 20 working at the Smart Factory, I was working with people in their 30s and 40s, and from day one, my opinion mattered. It was like I was able to pursue what I wanted to. I was able to pursue and learn new things. They encouraged that. They helped, teach me about how actual manufacturing works versus the design concepts that I learned in college, which I think was a big impact of why I decided to go here or pick Deloitte, is that it was really two sides of the same coin where I got to see the design concepts I'd been taught in college that I've always heard about in engineering, the very kind of mathematical side, with the actual physical manufacturing floor. And that's a connection that I think, for me at least, in college was never made before I had an internship and actually got a chance to work with something like a smart factory. I feel like those are two distinct worlds. Manufacturing and like engineering design are these very distinct worlds, I feel like, in academia. So seeing those merged and combined, it was just I didn't want to stop learning about it. I didn't want to stop working on the systems. And I mean, Deloitte made the offer, and I was like, yeah, I want to keep doing this. I can't imagine something else right now.
So you said you were originally considering a pre-med or a medical career?
Yes.
So I was so glad to hear you say that, because it leads perfectly into my next line of questions. Do you think the majority of Gen Z knows what career degree they want to pursue when they begin college?
100, absolutely not. I mean, I didn't know personally going into college, and I think nowadays with social media and the amount of options out there, I think people know even less when they go into college because they're even more aware of the different industries, different potential careers out there. And I mean, I personally, I have a lot of friends, and I have a younger brother who's actually in college right now, and I've been able to get involved with recruiting at Wichita State, so I get to go back there pretty regularly. And the majority of Gen Z, I would say, in freshman or even sophomore year, have no idea what they want to do. They're doing their, initial classes. They're kind of checking off the box of the gen eds. But I would say the majority don't know what they want to do going into college. They might have an idea, but I think it breaks down pretty quickly once you get into the actual college experience.
Yeah, I was just talking with somebody who works at a, like a Institute of Technology, a university in Thailand, and she was talking about how students have to declare their major before they even step on campus, and it's just so different from how we operate. So I'm just kind of wondering, like, you went to the route of a 4-year college degree, but also had the hands-on exposure from the Smart Factory. So, like, for the purpose of Gen Z people who are interested in manufacturing, do you think they benefit more from that holistic exploratory education model that universities in America promote, or do you think they'd work better with a more rigid, structured curriculum that you find at trade and vocational schools?
I would say overall, I think I would probably lean more towards the holistic, but I think it has to be approached in a certain way. Because I think at the school I went to, we had there was a heavy emphasis on internships, and the school actually helped get students involved with local manufacturers and actually have them working, with the engineers, with the people on the line. But I think with manufacturing, it's just something that before you get into college and actually experience it, people tend to have, I think, pretty strong opinions if they want to work in manufacturing or not. And getting the chance to actually be on a manufacturing floor, see what the work is like, and see that along with the actual, like research and engineering technology and um, math and science behind manufacturing, I think that holistic approach really benefits in helping people draw people into manufacturing because it makes it interesting. It makes it more exciting and more intriguing to get more involved in it.
Yeah, and just in an American university, you also take a lot of classes that just have nothing to do with the career you're going for. And the lady I was talking to says that has value. I mean, did you take many classes that had just nothing to do with mechanical engineering?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I can remember one class that stands out to me that, I mean, it was my favorite class I took. It was a media literacy class. But I took those kinds of classes. I took English, science, and I think it's very important going in. I mean, even first and foremost, those classes, if like, let's say the actual topic and the actual like curriculum isn't directly related to mechanical engineering, some of the concepts, you know, I guess educational concepts, the thought processes, those can be easily dragged between different industries. So I would say personally, I think it was incredibly helpful for me. And if I didn't necessarily pursue something to the end, I learned a lot about if I really wanted to do it. Like if I had to declare and, finalize med as like my entire thing starting out freshman year, I mean, I would have never really had the chance to experience manufacturing, but I would have gotten a year into it and not been enjoying it. But that was like the path I declared. I wouldn't be able to change it. So I think that ability to move within an American university is very useful to not only just finding what you want to do, but making sure you have a very varied skill set and benefits when you come out of college and get into the industry.
The kind of mindsets you're talking about, do you think that is a new mindset and approach championed by Gen Z, or do you think that's kind of been human nature in this country for a few generations?
I think this country definitely like it pushes individuality. It pushes, the idea of, learning, pursuing, growing. But I think Gen Z is very aware of it. I think that a lot of us, um, we really, like you can say things like work-life balance, loving your job. These are kind of concepts that are really becoming much more important to Gen Z, where you see Gen Z prioritizing jobs that they enjoy over jobs that say might pay more. It's that, or like, good work culture is a big thing that Gen Z talks about, freedom to work remote. We're kind of seeing this shift where it's like this life balance with work. And I think that kind of concept rolls over pretty well into like your overall education, your experiences. I think Gen Z is very interested in a varied experience and having that variety. I think it's exploration is a big part of Gen Z.
After you decided that you weren't going to go after a pre-med medical career anymore, Did you ever consider going to a vocational school or a trade school?
Definitely. For me, I was already several years into the college experience, and I mean I love the work I do right now. So it's kind of that balance. But I definitely considered it. I think to kind of build off that, I think those trades were like with the big push in the 90s and 2000s that you need a college degree. College degrees are everything. Get a college degree, it'll make your life easier. I think trades kind of got a bad rap, and I think Gen Z, millennials to an extent, but I think Gen Z as well are really starting to embrace trades more as an actual career path. At least I have a lot of friends that are like they knew from a pretty early age, like, no, I want to do a trade. I don't want to go to college, I want to do a trade. I think trade is for me, and it's great because I mean trades are incredibly important and they're very solid careers. So I love seeing it personally.
Yeah, I think just with the the worries of labor shortage here in the United States, people say, well, more people should be going to trade schools. And just as we were talking earlier, Gen Z kind of gravitates towards the approach that universities promote. So for the kids that don't want to go to trade schools but still are interested in manufacturing, like what is the best way to maybe reach them earlier and keep them on the path so that they do eventually go into a manufacturing field after they graduate?
That's a great question. I mean, if you look at the data, you can see that, I mean, as you mentioned, like the job shortage thing, there was a study done recently by Deloitte and Manufacturing Institute that found that basically from 2024 to 2033, there's potentially an increase of 3.8 million jobs needed. And that's going to be like about a gap of roughly 1.9 million careers right now. So I think a big part of it is getting into schools and sharing the idea of manufacturing being an actual like career path you get into young. I think a lot of people, I mean, I think it hits a sweet spot where a lot of people don't like the idea of sitting at a desk 24 or, 10 hours a day, 4 days a week, 5 days a week. I think they don't want the idea of like the cubicle life that we see, but a lot of them also might not think, well, I don't want to go be like a researcher or something, or I don't want to do math my entire life. And I think manufacturing is really a sweet spot where you get to be hands-on, we're walking on a manufacturing floor, working, but you're also gaining really valuable skills now more than ever as you see, companies start to upscale themselves. They start to add new technologies. Manufacturing catches up with other industries. The opportunity for new technology, upskilling, and training is there now more than ever. So I think it really, if these manufacturing industries can get into schools and colleges and really share what this job actually is and what the opportunities are, I think that'll make a big difference because like once I really understood it more and understood the field, it's a really a sweet spot I think a lot of people are looking for.
So let's say you got the ear of someone who's going to go talk to kids about manufacturing, get them interested, and they got to go talk to some young Gen Zers who they don't relate to at all. What are you telling them to tell these young kids about manufacturing that will get them excited?
I think there's a few key areas with it, but I would mainly say is that you're not working a cubicle job where you're sitting behind a computer, 8 hours a day. But I think the more like interesting and cool part of it is that you get to see all the cool technology you learn about in middle school, like robotics, VR, AI, things like unlimited reality, Internet of Things, all these really cool concepts, they all work together in manufacturing. Like as manufacturing grows and catches up with industry, you're seeing, you know, it's like almost like sci-fi. You're seeing people who are standing on a cell working with these giant robot arms that are maneuvering all these little pieces, doing like spot welds across entire automotive frames, and then cameras tracking all of it and noting every little detail and inspecting the welds. It really is like the science fiction that I think a lot of kids grow up loving and being interested in. It's just doesn't quite look like what you'd expect it to be. But I think that is really what can make people excited about it is that there's just this, it's just fascinating. You can see any kind of technology you could want to work in touches manufacturing in some way. So if you want to learn new things and you've never seen yourself as a person that could just do one thing, then I think it's an excellent career. The biggest thing I hear is that, I mean, a lot of the interns I work with are engineers, they're engineering majors. And the biggest thing I hear is they keep saying, I don't feel like I'd ever be bored here. Like every time I talk to them, like I feel like I can always learn something new. There's always something interesting to pursue. I'm encouraged to keep learning past college, and they're just excited to see the industries. I feel like a lot of engineering, you sit and do CAD the entire time, like this CAD design, it's very digital. So seeing, all the design, all like the research, become these physical factories and seeing all the data and numbers and softwares you work with actually work and do something is incredibly fulfilling.
Well, what do the interns you work with, what kind of stuff do they struggle with as they're learning about your company and the duties they'd have to do?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, well, with Deloitte being a consulting firm, there is definitely that kind of side where it's technology, the work on the actual manufacturing systems, and there's also the human component, working with the client directly. And engineering definitely favors one of those over the other. Engineering definitely is more the tech side. So I would say one of the struggles I've seen them work through is interacting, with a team, with clients. It's a lot of those soft skills that are kind of hard to develop with an engineering curriculum because you're, go, go, go on all of the design and science side of things. So I would say that's probably the biggest challenge I see is just, kind of them coming out of their shells, working more with people directly, and being willing to speak up. I think in engineering, like with the way engineering is structured, how you have your FE, and you're working under an engineer for several years, and you're becoming a professional engineer. I would say that starting out, you're encouraged to learn, but you don't really feel you can speak out or speak up, in my opinion. It feels much more like you're just there to learn and understand. While, I mean, everyone working here, no matter what the level, they're encouraged to share their ideas, speak up. If they have an idea, pursue it. And I think that freedom and that ability is a little bit daunting at first, combined with, trying to get that just real world experience of working with people and working with clients.
Is Gen Z more subdued now as they're coming into the workplace? Are they less vocal than you think previous generations have been when they're starting out?
I definitely have seen a little, would say I see a little bit more of that just with how, being fully remote in school for a while with the pandemic and then a push more towards remote work, which I'm in favor of remote work, but I know that it definitely changes the interaction. And that is one of the good things about this job that I really like is that it's a combination of remote and in person. So I can be in person in the office working with my team or on a client site working with the client, but then I'm also at the ability to be remote if I need to. So I wouldn't say they're necessarily quieter. It's just I think Gen Z is more experienced working remote than a lot of other generations, and it might be a little bit slower for them to get, I guess, like the office culture or like the client relationship culture. It's a little bit more work for them to get that, I think.
What do you think Gen Z can contribute as far as integrating innovation and some of those digital skills you're talking about, integrating that with traditional manufacturing?
I think just sharing with other coworkers and taking that action, that drive within because they bring a new perspective coming in. Like Gen Z has a new perspective on the technology available, a better understanding of it. And I think one, the manufacturer being willing to explore and learn about these new systems, as well as the students coming into the industry being willing to share those ideas and really push them forward and take ownership of them. I think it's almost a partnership where you have people with that newer technology experience related to, any of the previously described things, and then manufacturers being willing to explore those ideas. Because I mean, manufacturing is a very unique industry. It's you want to keep going constantly. It's very like you don't want to stop for any reason. There's not so if something works, like you don't want to stop even if you could do something better because that would mean delaying production. And it's like a ball that's rolling. It's kind of hard to stop it and actually make improvements because there's that drive to keep it rolling. So I think a lot of companies, working with newer technology and working with the maybe more of Gen Z that are willing to experience it and explore it, I think is kind of the key there. I think, yeah, working at Smart Factory has been an incredible experience and the opportunity, I think that's just kind of to be rephrase what we were saying earlier, is that I think the really big push with getting Gen Z into manufacturing is breaking the stereotype of manufacturing being kind of, this on the line, doing the same thing over and over, very boring, stereotypical role. And it's really breaking that stereotype and showing how much innovation and technology and freedom and ownership there is in manufacturing. And conversely, having manufacturers really push that, be willing to like, enable their employees, upskill them, things like, knowledge transfers, AI, augmented reality, all these technologies are really useful, but I think it really comes down to the manufacturers being willing to explore those, and Gen Z is excited to. So I think that's where it has to meet is the manufacturers embracing those, because that's what Gen Z really wants. Gen Z, I think, is they see all this technology, they see on social media, they see it in other industries, and the chance to work with that directly and really have ownership of it, I think, is a massive draw to an industry for them.
Thank you for watching this episode of Gen Z in Manufacturing. Please make sure to like and share the episode. To view previous episodes, visit manufacturing.net. If you are a member of Gen Z and would like to discuss your experience in the manufacturing industry, please contact Nolan Beilstein at nolan@in.com.